So Terry, do you want to talk about your brilliant idea?
Okay. Well, when we were having our pandemic and no meetings and no in-person interactions and stuff, I got to thinking about other kind of clubs that I belong to, and I belong to a plant club, and well, I don't anymore, but I used to belong to a photo club, and an important part of all those kind of clubs is a monthly competition. And I didn't want us to have a competition, but I thought it would be fun for people to have like something, a goal, you know, something to work towards. And there's somebody still scraping up noise in the background. Anyway, so so I came up with the idea that we would just have an activity that we could all do and show the results, and it would be just in a non-competitive environment, and sometimes having an assignment, it just opens up all kinds of new doors when you're creating something. It gives you something to start with, and sometimes that's all you need is just a starting point, a point of departure. So so I brought this to the board, and they said, yeah, okay. So we announced it in December at the party that Stacy came up with the theme of triangles, and we said triangles and go for it. And here we are. So I'm anxious to see what everybody did. And if you guys want to continue doing that, say yay, and we'll figure out a way to do it, whether it dominates a meeting or whether it's just a more minor part of the meeting. We haven't quite figured that part out. We're making this up as we go. So, all right. So Stacy, you wanted to start with the images that people emailed you?
No, let's start with people who want to show live.
Oh, okay. All right.
Who wants to show live? Because Win wants to show live. Okay, let's start with Win. Win, unmute yourself and show us what you got.
I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Let's see. I'm going to need to get rid of my background here. Hang on a second.
And everybody knows if you go up to your right-hand corner and go to view, you can check on speaker view, and then you get a bigger view of Win and his fabulous project, which we'll see in a minute.
Okay, so I've got to get it named here. Oh, wrong way. Huh. I was looking for how do I turn the camera around, and I can't. So I started playing with garden stools a while ago, and I had a dream about this triangle stool that I was going to make. So I made the base. It's got triangles carved in the side of it, and in my dream it had this big triangular top. So I made a triangular top that's the biggest I could fit in my kiln, and don't like it. It's like too small. It's not heavy enough. So I realized I'd maybe rather have it be circular. So I made a circular one. No, that's wrong. But this one I realized is a Lazy Susan. So I bought a Lazy Susan hardware to go on the bottom and turned that into a Lazy Susan. So then I thought, okay, well, it comes like this. It actually needs to be bigger, more kind of pillowy. So I made this one, and I didn't really like this rim here, even though it does kind of reflect down there. I wasn't sure about that. So I made one without that, another triangle. And that's more like a big ginger jar. I kind of like that as a ginger jar, but it's not what I had in mind. So I made another one, kind of the same size as the first one, but without the little rim around the bottom. I don't like that either. So I like the one, I'm back to this. I like this one best. So this is what I'm going to glaze. up, and I'll just use the glaze to glue the top and the bottom together. And then I realized I had a base left over from a bird bath that I made that someone broke the bowl on. And that this was kind of cool on there as a stool.
Or a table, a little
Or
table.
a little side table. So I wanted lots of triangle things. And this one's gonna be like that, that's gonna be like that. The big round one is a Lazy Susan. I'm not sure about the triangle, and I'm not sure about the other top hat here that didn't quite make it. So from the top, this looks like, oh, where are we? I can't figure out how to angle this. Like that. I don't know if you get that with the shadows. So that's my triangles.
Yay. Does anybody have any questions for Win?
Have you thought about putting like a cushion on it?
You mean like permanently attaching a cushion to it?
No, just having a cushion that you could toss on top to sit on. That might resolve the problem of figuring out the top shape, because it would sort of hide the top.
Well, I like that like it is. So you
I
can
do
put a
too.
cushion on it if you want. If
Well,
someone
when I
wants.
thought it just kind of looked like a cushion. That's why I thought.
Yeah, but the other thing I thought of after playing with this was I'm going to make a stool that's got a bottom. These all have open bottoms, and where the sitting part is actually literally like the lid to a jar, but that's tight so it won't rattle around. But you actually could store things inside of the stool.
Nice.
So are you gonna submit it for the Detrius Wood Show? I mean, if it contains the lid.
Well, that'll be all glued together. It'll be a permanent lid on it.
Oh, I like it being open, and then you can put things in it and then put the seat on it and.
Right, but there isn't a rim any place to hold it in place. I'd have to jury rig something. It's like, nah.
Well, hey, when you've got to
Another time.
make a new one to make a lid on it.
Yep, that could happen. I've got a month.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anybody else want to raise your hand, literally physically, if you want to go live? Anybody else want to go live? Because I got a ton of people that sent me pictures.
I
Lynn,
see Lynn.
Lynn, do you have something? Okay, go ahead, Lynn. You have to unmute yourself.
So this was fun to do. That I have, I've been making, as Wynn knows, I have been doing these small pots, and then I decided to paddle it into a triangle. And it's not yet glazed. It will be when I get some more tests done at Gwen's. So that's that.
Is that porcelain? I know you work in porcelain.
This one is porcelain, yes.
That's nice.
And so it'll be nice with either, I'm working now I have a yellow glaze that's going to be tested and a green translucent that will be tested. So it's kind of fun. As I get this success with the glaze, I intend to put designs on the facets of this that have been paddled in, so they would have more interest to them as they get bigger. And I'm working small when I am still testing glazes, as Wynn knows.
Any question? And Lynn has some pieces that she sent photos too that we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
And does anybody else have any questions for Lynn? Anybody else want to show live?
Yeah, I can show mine. Hold
Okay.
on for a second.
Do it,
I'm in the
Diane.
dark. Woo-hoo.
You are in the dark.
Let me get out of the dark. I'm sorry. Hold on. There we are. Okay. Okay, let me see if I can get this such that this was a piece. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, let me get. Come on, get. Nope, that's not it. I thought I was getting it bigger, but. Okay, anyway. How do I get this so that you can see it from? All right. Anyway, it's a vase. Can you see it at all?
Yeah,
Yes,
look
yes.
Okay, it's a vase. Here's where you put the flowers. This is meant to be for putting little gadgets or little pieces. I made this in Jeannie's class. Remember this, Jeannie? And so anyway, so that's that. It's speckled buff is the clay. So each side has its own drawing. And that's it. That's all it is. See ya.
Does anybody have any questions for Diane? Okay, here we go. Erica Posey. Woo! Look at that.
So when I was thinking about triangles, I was having a hard time coming up with some ideas, and I've always wanted to do some sort of lighting, really more of a lampshade out of ceramics, but with the triangles, I ended up here. I'm pretty happy with it. It's about almost 22 inches tall, including the shade. It's made out of paper clay, and I constructed it out of slabs, of course. There are 4 slabs. It's a 3-sided pyramid, and assembled it together with some feet and a little hole in the center there in the bottom. The leaf stamps were made with a bisque stamp I handmade myself. And does anybody have questions about that?
I think it's beautiful. It has a real mid-century look to it.
Thank you.
Any
Oh,
more
it's
questions?
just, it's I don't have any questions, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It
I know.
definitely is. It's
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
really,
so-
really beautiful. Good job.
Thank you. I
Were
hope-
there, were there any challenges to the wiring and setting up the lamp base?
Oh, yeah. So my recommendation is to get the hardware first and work around the hardware, because if you make the lamp base first and then try to find all the hardware that fits, it can be challenging. The biggest challenge that I came across was, you can buy those standard lamp assemblies at your local hardware store. But when you try to put a short shade on with them, the proportions are all off with the harp and things like that. So this has a special, it's called a cluster lamp shade, where you have 2 bulbs that are hanging down instead of pointing up. That allowed me to put the shade a little bit lower on the base. So there wasn't a big gap there, and it just looked a little more integrated.
Excellent.
I have a question. Is there a better close-up picture of the inside carving or whatever you did in there? And can you explain what you did in the inside triangle part? Not, like the design part. Is that slip, or what is that? Stamps, or like the leaves?
So it's stamped texture. And then on the interior portion with the leaves, I applied an Oribe glaze, which I mixed in the studio here. I found the recipe on glazy.org, I think. And then the perimeters were glazed with the Amico Ancient Copper. Does that answer your question? That was stamped texture, yeah. One leaf at a time.
You say here in the credits, lamp neck, Alan Posey, hand milled unfinished bronze. He does metalworking with a lathe and whatnot.
He has a metal lathe. He does some metalworking. He does a lot of woodworking.
That's fantastic.
But that was out of necessity because I couldn't find anything easy to extend that lamp cluster up with the pieces I had. So he was
Ah,
Oh,
like,
So where did you get the
Yeah,
lamp cluster? Where did you purchase that?
the lamp cluster I purchased online, Antique Lamp Supply. You can get it. You can also buy it through Amazon, and the store is B&P Lamp Supplies. I found it was a little bit cheaper to buy it through Amazon.
Erica, did you assemble the pieces after you fired it or before you fired it?
After I fired it.
So epoxy?
I'm sorry?
Did you use epoxy or what was your?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, the base itself was assembled with slabs and then fired. It was just the metal parts that were added afterwards.
So it was fired as a complete piece.
Yes, the base was a complete piece.
And I'm surprised you didn't get any warpage. Good job.
Yeah, I think the paper clay helped a lot with that.
oh, yeah.
I did do a test run with a triangle sculpture that was very much like this, just a little different texture. It's at the gallery store right now. And it did kind of take a little curve, but I think that was because I wasn't careful about making sure it was perfectly perpendicular when I was finishing it up.
but Erica's not done yet.
One more.
Ta-da!
Oh, wow.
So this is a lamp I made. It's about It's a clock I made. It's about 13 inches in diameter. And you can't see the clock hands there, but I've ordered some brass ones so they'll pop out a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it kind of an assembly of triangles. And you know what I use? You know, what is it? And the circle diagrams where you divide it up. It's all pre-divided. It's a plastic template by M&S or MS.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, you know what I'm talking about. You can just use that to lay out your design and get your triangles, and that worked really well for me.
Okay. Any questions for Erica about the clock? Okie
No.
doke.
Really
Okie doke.
nice.
Yeah.
I could
Thank
ask
you.
a question. I could ask a question. Let's see. Unmute.
Oh, you're muted now.
Muted.
You're muted, Ellen.
Unmute. Okay?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So when you made it, if you can turn it around to the front part, the picture with the front. So did you actually, cut all the slabs separately? No.
Oh, I cut, it was one big slab that I then kind of incised the triangles into,
Okay, gotcha.
and then
With the-
textured and glazed them, and it's the same two glazes I used on the lamp.
So that's what you use I think it's MKM, the guys that make the rollers.
Yeah.
That's what you use to incise the slab that you cut.
I really used it to lay out the perimeter and the center, and then I just used a ruler to incise the.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Oh, sure.
Any more questions? Okay, next is Diane Rosenthal. So Diane, unmute yourself and say hi so we can see you. Are you there? Diane? Okay. Well, Diane, this is Diane's piece. I know she's at the meeting, but I can't see or hear her, so. And when people made comments in their emails to me, I went ahead and inserted them. So apparently this was a collaboration between her and Lori Hansen. Diane?
It looks like Diane does not have audio capability. I only see a
Okay.
video thing on her.
Alrighty, but there it is. It's lovely. So maybe if you want to communicate with Diane or you have any questions, you could share the chat with her. Okay. Okay, this is Jeannie. I know I shouldn't say this because I've seen everybody's, but this is my favorite one. Jeannie, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you very much for that
This is my
comment.
absolute favorite one. Are we ready?
It's a little different.
Yeah.
This is my
That's
favorite.
so cool.
I never like to do anything normal, so I thought this would be rather interesting.
I love it.
And those are, I actually just used my own hands to figure out how to sculpt those hands. Now that's still raw clay. It's the speckled buff. So it'll be a lighter color with spots once it's finished being fired, and I will not glaze it. But I will mount it on something. I'm not sure yet what.
I love it. It was my favorite. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Jeannie
Right.
besides how spectacular it is?
Jeannie, if you'd like to put it on like a piece of copper, I've got copper. I don't know whether it would disappear on it, but I've got copper you could have.
Okay, well, it will be lighter in color, so that's a good idea. Thank you for that offer.
Okay. Okay, John Grisafe, are you here?
Yes,
All righty, here we go. Okay, here's John's triangle piece. What you want to say?
I cheated. You have to backlight this to make it a triangle, but it's a cone, and I put a lid on it. That is a triangle, and I thought you could use it as a base or a bottom.
Does anybody have any questions for John?
So
You just muted yourself. You were unmuted and then you muted yourself. There you go.
So you basically did three things that you could do: the Ojai sail, you could do the vase thing, and you did the triangle. If that's not multitasking, I don't know what is.
Well, Ellen, I got the idea from Stacy. If you remember last meeting, she said, well, on my project, I'm going to put a lid on it and get a twofer out of it.
There you
So
go.
I thought, well, that's a heck of an idea.
It's very nice.
All right, moving
Thank you.
on. And these are in no particular order except how they came up in the folder that I had stashed everything. Okay, Katerina made a hand-built and raku-fired piece. Katerina, are you here? Unmute and speak up. Because here's your beautiful bottle. Do you want to say anything about it? I don't know, is Katerina here? I have my list of people. Maybe Katerina is not here. So, but there it is. You can see the triangles and there, really.
Hello.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Yay! What do you want to say about your lovely piece?
I will try, but I have very bad connection.
We can hear you good.
Okay, I can show you the real piece. Yeah, this is my real piece.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is my raku creation, and I fired it at the beginning of this month. So I have another one, and it's still waiting for firing. I don't have anything special to say.
Okay. Does anybody have any
Nice.
questions for Katya? Questions? All righty. But it's definitely fits our theme.
It's really
really-
beautiful.
I really
Really
like
nice.
this
Yeah.
view. Yeah, I think it's really nice.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Kirk Wall, are you there? Speak up so we can see you.
I'm here.
There you are. There you are. Okay. I'm going to show your piece.
Okay. There you go. Well, that's as the text said, it's colored porcelain. It's cone 5 Nara porcelain, and it's a Narikomi piece. It's about 7 inches in diameter. And the triangles are made by extruded them. So you make a stack of colored clay and white clay and extrude it through a triangular die to get the individual triangles. And then I put them together, 6 of them together to make each one of those sort of sets of 6, and then assembled those into to make the plate. So. And it's not glazed. This is just polished, kind of to a satin finish with, I used various, increasingly fine grit, wet dry sandpaper up to about 1500 grit.
Wow. You're a patient man. Does anybody have any
Nice.
questions?
I see a workshop. That's an amazing technique.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but there's long periods of tedium.
Yeah, well, that's true for a lot of ceramics.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments?
So is that like a rope that has 3 or 4 layers on it, and it starts out round, and then it goes through a triangular die?
Yeah, it's basically the extruder I used is just a handheld one, like a caulking gun. So it takes about it's about 1.5 pounds of clay altogether inside the gun. But the trick is to get this pattern at least is you just the layers of clay are parallel to the surface of the extruding die. You get a different pattern if they're in some sort of angle to the surface of the die. So it as you push it through the extruder, you get these varying layers of clay pushing through it to get that shape.
Oh, I see. So so when you slice out the extrusion, each slice is going to be slightly different.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
really interesting.
Is the bottom piece thrown?
Yes. I throw and actually the rim, the porcelain rim I add to try to decrease cracking around the margins. That's of course one of the biggest problems with these kinds of Narikomi pieces is cracking. Because there's you have this multitude of joins that provide a place for the piece to crack. So I apply the rim and then and the foot, and I throw the foot, and then after it's dried a little bit more, I will try to sort of smooth out the rim as well.
Would you have any interest in doing a demo of this type of thing, maybe on one of the meetings?
Sure, I could. Yeah.
That's like really incredibly awesome.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I would love to see how you did it because I have an extruder which I don't use, and I would love to see how you did this.
Yeah. These are fairly small pieces. As I say, cracking is the problem with Narikomi pieces, and the bigger they get, it seems like as shrinkage problems just become logarithmically worse, and so I tend to make these pieces don't get at least when I've made them, I've not had success with pieces that are say twice as big as this. I have too much problems with cracking. Although it's interesting, if you look at some of these people who make these pieces on the particularly large pieces, they don't seem to worry too much about cracking. They just fill it with resin and then take a grinding wheel to it and polish it out. In fact, they even do crazy things like they add metal filings to the resin to give it an interesting look. And so maybe I worry too much about cracking. I don't know.
What's the diameter?
It's about 7 inches.
That's good size.
Yeah. I made some bowls that are larger than that successfully, but it's frustrating when you get 75% failure rate in larger pieces anyway. The way that the people who are really good at this do it is they make what they call a loaf. So they'll make I'll make something that's the diameter of this plate, and it's just as a big solid piece that's maybe 7 inches or 8 inches in diameter, unfired as raw clay, and then maybe 8 or 10 inches tall, and they'll slice off, maybe a dozen different discs out of it and make plates out of it that way. So out of one loaf, they'll get 8 or 10 plates out of it.
And I think too with the loaves too, that you let them sit for a month or so, so all the
Yes.
clay gels together. You don't have the separation problems.
Yeah. And I actually did that. I let this piece, I let the individual sort of the hexagonal shapes where there's 6 triangles together. I let that sit kind of unintentionally for probably about 3 weeks before I even started to cut it up. And then I cut it up and I assembled it into its plate form. And then I let that sit for probably a couple of weeks before I actually put it in, and I had it in a damp box, just to sort of let it cure. Because I think one of the challenges sometimes is particularly when you're using multiple colors like this, is that if the clays are not exactly of the same hydration, it just magnifies the problems you get as the clay dries. And so I stuck it in a damp box with the hope that would help sort of even out the hydration of the clay, the different clay bodies. The other thing is that adding color to this is called Victoria Green, and I discovered fairly early on that it doesn't make a very good body stain. It turns into this kind of an olive drab color. But it's interesting because you get it affects the shrinkage rate of the clay, and it also I don't know, it seems to affect how the clay receives water. I don't know how to explain it, but it's bizarre. I don't have enough experience really to explain why it does that, but it doesn't make it complicated. But at any rate, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but.
Any last questions for Kirk? All right, Lori saw the flash of her name when I advanced in advance. And
That I did.
And there she's ready to go.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm ready, but here we go. First of all, I'd like to say that everything that I've seen so far is really awesome. Totally impressed with everything. And this challenge, I have to admit, was great for me because most of the stuff that I do is angular anyway. So this was a piece of cake. I didn't really have to come up with anything new because I had all this stuff already. This piece that's on the left here is just, it needs to be refired. The glaze didn't come out very well. Was just trying to do a lidded triangular piece, and the lid doesn't fit very well. So I need to kind of work on making that better. The one on the right, just another triangular piece. That's Temuku glaze, a little bit of slip trailing inside with a luster glaze. The piece on the left, several years ago, Jeannie and a group of us went to, I believe it was Pomona College, and there was a building there that inspired this piece. I took a picture of the building, and this is kind of what the building looks like. So I constructed that piece. The top half of it does come off. It's a lidded piece. Not crazy about the glazes, but the construction of the piece took me a while, so I was happy that the construction stayed together and it worked out okay. The pieces on the left, the tray and the triangular bowl, my mother-in-law had a set of old dishes from the 50s that had this pattern on them, and it kind of stuck in my mind as just kind of a retro thing. And so I thought I'd paint them on some pieces.
Can I ask, but there's also texture on there.
There's texture. I had carved a pattern into or the plaster and rolled it out. Rolled the clay out on the plaster. And the design that's there, the texture is also very geometric. Okay, the top one on the left, you can see that it was a series from the pieces on the right. I did triangles, circles, and squares / rectangles, and did some pieces that were kind of at angles. They are, it's slip that I carved to get the designs, and they're all slab built. The ones on the bottom, I wanted to do some sculptural pieces, and so did a series of triangles, cubes, and spheres. That was interesting. Each of those are probably 5 or 6 inches in height, and would ultimately like to do some of those in larger sculptures, but I'm not sure what I'd do with them, so I have not done it yet.
Does anyone have any questions for Lori?
Yeah, I do, Lori.
Mhm.
The sculptures, the last one, are those hollow?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, they're hollow, so they each have a hole poked in them in hopefully inconspicuous places.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to construct that to make it look exactly the way you want it to look. I know, because I did mine like similar, but oh my God, trying to make it look like a triangle and keep it straight, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, they took a little bit of time, but it was interesting. Most of the work that I do, I don't necessarily actually like the finished product. It's more about what I can make clay do.
Anybody else have any questions or comments for Lori?
Very nice, Lori.
Thank you.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi.
Next is Luann Smith. Luann, unmute yourself and speak up.
Hey there.
Okay, Luann, here you go.
Oh, nice.
I just took this as an opportunity to experiment. So I threw a vase and then I carved it with triangles, and then I cut it all apart and put it back together. So yeah, it was a fun experiment.
What's the firing on that? Is this cone 10 or
Yeah, it's cone 10 reduction, and this is a MD Chino glaze on it.
Does anybody have any questions for Luann? Yay. I think it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
I think it references like ancient hieroglyphics. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did remind me of Mayan something.
The best part about this is seeing how different everybody's interpretation of the word triangle is and where we go from there.
Is that white Chino?
It's MD Chino, which I don't, it's.
That for Malcolm Davis?
Yeah, Malcolm Davis Chino.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Yay, thank you, Luann. Okay. Oops, there's the inside. We didn't get to see the inside, which is really lovely, actually. Okay, Nadia, you're up.
Yeah.
Get ready. No, I actually love this because this is.
Yeah, I'm not a hand builder, but I went ahead and took the challenge, and I did some slip trailing. It literally does fit together, and each part can be taken apart. And the top is a lid so it can be taken apart. You can use it for separate things, but it's still in greenware. It's not been fired. I'm hoping it stays together. It's still drying, actually. And I had I had started with a template like this. And then I made another one, and then I broke up each piece. So each of these, you know, I had to construct it. And that's what I found very hard to do, because to seam it and then to, you know, make sure the inside was covered, the seams and stuff. So I'm hoping it'll make it through it, through all the fires. And I haven't yet figured out what I'm going to fire it as. I don't know what colors yet.
I'm very impressed because they fit together. They seem to that seems to be a very even plane.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing, to try to keep it together. And I kept, you know, shaping it and constantly using a rib and going over it over and over and over. And then I added the slip trailing, and it mimic the triangles. So it's not actual triangles, but you can see the angles are there for a triangle shape. So you can put it together like I did there, or it can be switched around any way you want it.
I mean, every box is a lid for the box and under it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've got 3 lids.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
So I hope we see this at the Beatrice Wood Show.
Exactly. You win for most
lids. I can actually get it glazed and it all stays together.
You should win for the most lids in one piece. All right. Anybody have any questions for Nadia? Yay. I love this. This is like something I would. Okay, Sandra Swanson, are you here? I didn't see her earlier. Sandra? So you can read about Sandra. She, and you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a PDF and send it out to everybody so you can read all of this and have these pictures for reference. But she's making tiles, and the sailboats and their triangular sails were her inspiration. But she's, I think, spent a lot of time thinking about how to mount her tiles and then how to mount the piece on the wall. So this is what she's come up with. If anybody needs more time to read this. So we all know, so there's that. And then she sent another piece, another tile that she's made that she's working on. Okay, unless Sandra's here, which I don't think she is. We'll keep going and work. Terry, we know Terry's here. Terry, what you got to say about this?
Well, I'm a little bit of a stain junkie. I do my pieces, I color them with stain and use a clear glaze. And I'm constantly experimenting with different ways to use stains. So I have all these little individual test tiles that I make as I accumulate them. And it becomes difficult to really discern the difference between all the different shades of blue, because these tiles have been fired at different times, and they have glaze on, clear glaze on them, and so on and so forth. So I wanted to do one great big test tile with all my colors all together all at once. And so I decided that would be my triangle challenge. And I tell you, after seeing all the work so far, I'm glad I didn't try to do something artistic, because I can't follow any of that stuff. Anyway, so there's 60 different stains here, and I used a small airbrush to spray them through a little stencil. And I fired it single fire, no glaze. It's a cone 6. This is on Miller porcelain. So without using the glaze, because the clear glaze does have an impact on some colors. Some colors it doesn't, but some colors it does. It can absorb them or make them go away even. So so now I can see everything all at once, and I can kind of size up the different the different blues and the different browns and see how they're different. And that's my triangles.
So knowing you, Terry, I suspect there's a picture somewhere of this with the number of each of those stains written.
Yes, that was kind of a challenge. What I did is I split all these stains into 6 different groups, and I kind of made a legend for a key for each one as to what part of the plate that each of the 10 of the 6 groups went on. And then after I finished it, I took a picture and then referenced my different keys and identified each one. And there were only a couple of places where it's a little confusing, but to me, because I had two similar colors near each other. But for the most part, I think I got them all 100% correctly identified. So yeah, it's just a printout with writing on it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Terry?
I was wondering something, what happened with the ones that got kind of blurry, like in the bottom middle?
The ones that have some blur, it's because that plate isn't flat. It's a little bit dipped in the middle. That was kind of a mistake. I should have made it flat. So as I was going, I didn't want to smear anything. So I kind of held it as like on that brown one on the lower left. On the bottom part, I was holding it pretty right there on the plate, but then as it went through that curve, that the other part of the stencil was raised up from the plate a little bit, so there was a little spray that bled underneath underneath that. Yeah.
Anybody else? We're moving on to Troy. I saw him here. Are you still around, Troy?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me all right with this microphone?
We can hear you great.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Sure, go ahead. I took this kind of literally, and I tried to make a sculpture using triangles. And these are a cone tin porcelain that I put together. I wanted 9, and I had 3 sets of 3. I think one broke off when I was glazing, but trying to get them to adhere to one another was the major challenge because the connection points are less than 2 millimeters. And so what I did is I cut a little notch on each one where they join together to increase the surface area of the connection, and just use my regular slip that I use. These have a light clear glaze sprayed onto them. And then once they're fired, they're glued onto a wooden base. That's about it.
And a miniature sculpture, yay. Do you know that people, I know there's a whole thing about miniatures and buying miniatures. Are people looking for like sculptural pieces to put in their miniature houses and stuff like that?
People look for everything to go into their doll houses that they would in a regular house. Yeah.
So the sky's.
There are people that collect everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I have done some of these in the past, and I've also used colored clay bodies because they're really hard to glaze because you put much glaze on there and it wipes out the shape. It fills it in too much. But without any glaze, then you don't always get them to stick together. That's the big part.
It's tiny.
I've also salt fired some of these, so just the salt fumes will kind of accumulate and make their own glaze over the surface, and that's always fun too, as long as they don't get blown off the shelf.
Troy, have you tried just using frit as a glaze to shine them up a little bit, real thin?
I haven't, but that sounds like an interesting
might experiment
thing
with
to try. Yeah.
There's a good tip. That's a good tip.
Because I use frit with my stains, and And depending on how much I use, it does, it is a glaze, really. And some of those triangles on that plate you couldn't see from the picture, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them are nice and shiny. And I guess I just hit them with a little more frit.
Do you have a particular frit that you like for those?
I use either the 3124 or 3134.
Yeah, the 3124 gets nice and glossy.
I think that's the one I'm using
Yeah,
mostly. Yeah.
I'll try it out.
Yeah.
You
Try it.
put
Just
that into
experiment
a
with it.
liquid solution to do that?
Just water. Well,
Okay. So it's liquid. You dilute it a little bit with water to brush them on?
yeah, it's a powder. So, well, when I put my stains on, I mix a little frit with them. So that helps the stains stick, adhere to the clay so it doesn't come off on bisque. It helps it adhere to the bisque. And then when it goes all the way to a glaze, if there's, maturity, if there's no other glaze, it'll have a little bit of a sheen to it.
I might have to add some frit to my aardvark order.
Yeah, but it doesn't create like a thick layer that obscures your fine detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, now I've let my secret out, so.
Yeah.
And we'll all be busy with that tomorrow.
Yeah. Any more questions for Troy? All right, let's see who's next. Trudy Cruiser Esposito, who made a piece with triangles. Are you there, Trudy? Are you still here?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Here we go.
This was a piece that I made over a 3-year period, and it started off with a design from a trivet that I found at a yard sale. And so I took the more detailed design and cut out 3 of them and then put them together and joined them with arches and then filled them in with a triangular piece on the bottom. And because there was a total of 10 pieces to comprise this, that's why it took so long to dry and to fire and to get it to all stick together without falling apart. About 12, 14 inches across. And the end of the middle part of the design, I took that and fashioned the foot for the bottom of it.
So is that foot concave?
Concave, no.
It's flat. Oh, okay.
The bottom of it was when I was constructing it, so it's probably just the wetness of the clay in different places that it makes it look like it's curved.
Yeah, it's an optical illusion. That's really lovely.
Thank you.
Does anybody have questions for Trudy? Comments?
I realize if I tried to do this again, I wouldn't have that many pieces. I'd try and cut it out of one piece if I could and then form it.
Yeah.
What clay did you use?
It's just a B mix. I think I let it dry upside down for over a year.
Wow.
Oh.
When I first made it, if I tried to move it, those arches in between the designs, they snapped with just a whisper on them. So when I found a position where they stayed intact, I just let it be. It was transporting it from my home to the kiln. Nadia fired it for me, and I was so afraid that just the jiggling of the car was going to snap all the pieces apart again, but it didn't. So I was glad it went through.
Yeah, I was nervous. I was very nervous.
Wow, that's amazing. We do set ourselves up for challenges, don't we? But that's the whole point, right?
It's just amazing how many variations on the theme of a triangle each person has, come up with their own take on it. It just blows me away. I think it's wonderful.
This is fabulous. I've enjoyed putting it all together. So Betty Schneider, are you here? Betty?
Yes, uh-huh.
All right. So here we go with your hand built and painted with underglazes. Then you put them in an electric kiln and there it is.
Yep.
And we've got a number of pictures of this. And it's nice that your piece matches your wall.
Yeah, the red wall.
So what, do you want to say anything about it?
I forgot to tell you that it's about 15 inches high. So it's a substantial piece, and it took hours and hours to hand paint the flowers. We have wonderful rolling pins. I forget who makes them, but they're fairly expensive, and that's where the pattern came from. And then I thought, oh, I'll just paint each flower with varying shades of reds and oranges and yellows, and it took hours and hours and hours, but it was a lot of fun.
Wow, that's really nice.
Thank you.
Did you just make that for this challenge, or is that something you'd made before?
No, I actually made that in a hand building class here in Ojai with Vera McGuire. So it was maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago, something like that. But I thought, a triangle.
There, that's a triangle. That's many triangles.
Yeah, I guess so, because the leaves are sort of triangular too.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Beth? All righty, yay. Claudia, are you here? I know Drew was.
I'm here.
Yay, Claudia. All right, so here's your piece. What do you want to tell us?
Oh my gosh.
Well, it was constructed from some leftover clay that I had from another piece I made, slab. And I just really liked the way it turned out. And the base is triangle. As you can see, the middle part is a triangle. And I just like the sculptural aspect of it. It's a little vase.
It is a lovely little vase. And you say this is Rodspod?
I believe so, yeah. I made this a year ago, probably, maybe a little more. But like Betty, I went, oh, I've got a triangle sitting around.
Yep. Does anybody have questions for Claudia?
How did she do the texture?
That was a kind of a foam mat that was of like bamboo leaves, kind of an Asian. It was actually a placemat, a dining room placemat that I found.
Okay.
And had, just some good design to it.
Yeah, it looks like it has a lot of depth to it.
It does. It does. It was kind of a thick foam mat.
Very cool.
It's really nice.
Thank you.
I love the surface. Is it cone 10?
Yes, it's cone 10, and I believe that was a Cushing's was the glaze.
Huh.
Yeah.
Any more questions for Claudia? Okay, I'm next. Okay, so this is one. I have two pieces. This is one. This is kind of obvious, and this is very me. So there's that. But here's my real piece that I have some misgivings. I have some problems. But you see where I'm headed. The vision is black and white in terms of the glazing. So I think I'll keep going with this one, but I think I'm also going to start a new one that I can maybe get done in time for Beatrice Woods. And then I can take advantage of all the things I learned doing this one. One of my big problems was that the bottom is B mixed with grog. And I thought I was out of B-Mix with grog, although I was sure I had another bag. So I just went ahead and made the lid with regular B-Mix. And then after that, I found my B-Mix with grog somewhere else. So the shrinkage is 1% difference, but that was enough to cause me problems. And I have a little bit of cracking, not a lot. And so I might re-bisque this one before I paint it, but I also think I'm gonna start over and do another one. But there's definitely a lot of triangles. So that's it. That's it for me. Does anybody have any questions for me?
How big is it?
Say what?
How big is it?
How big is it? Oh, geez, I didn't measure it, but from bottom to top, it's probably at least 10 inches, if not a little bit bigger. So it's fairly good size.
When you said you
Susie.
paint, when you say you painted it, are you doing underglazes or?
Oh, I'm gonna glaze it. So I'm gonna glaze it with, Colonial White from Laguna. And then Spectrum makes a really beautiful satin matte black. And so in addition to the contrast of the black and white, the white will also be shinier than the black, which is a combo I've used before and I really like that combo. And so I'm gonna alternate, so that I have a picture now. So that the triangles are gonna be one color, the big triangles, and then the sides are gonna be a different color. And I have to think about the lid. I think I have to think about the lid, whether I'm going to alternate or whether I'm just going to make the bottom part of the lid all black and then alternate at the top pyramid. So I have different pictures. I figured I'd paint the bottom and then glaze the bottom and then decide about the top.
Daisy, what I think would be interesting on this view, no, go back to the other view. That bottom triangle, I would continue it up into the lid and also cut your lid to go with the top edge of that triangle.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
that's a good idea.
It'd be much more interesting to finish that point.
I really like that. Yeah, that lid has given me, I have been babying that lid for a month and I kind of want to break it, but I think I'll keep it and do another one. And I really like that. I really like that, Jeannie. I think.
How did you get them to seed together? Did you have a flange inside?
I do have a flange inside the lid, and I also have a tab so that the lid only fits on in one direction.
Yeah,
I should show that.
That's what I had the hardest time with. I mean, literally every one part I had, I have a triangle foot on all the corners, so it fits on any way. But it was difficult to get it to sit in there and be level and look conform. It's very hard to do that.
Well, my problem too was the shrinkage differential.
Yeah,
when I originally cut this lid went beyond that point of that. I mean, the lid was bigger and it looked better. So, and I initially put the flange on the bottom and then decided that was a really dumb idea. So I took the flange off the bottom and put the flange on the top.
Yeah. Well, mine are actually the feet. The feet are the flange that holds the pieces together. Yeah.
But I even think in the end, I'm going to want to put a flange on in a way, have the notch, because I think I'm only going to want it to fit one way because of the design. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Stacy, have you tried paper clay?
I have paper clay. I have moldy paper clay on the bottom of my shelf. So I think I might have to pull that out.
Which paper clay do you have? Is it?
I have Aardvark Cone 5 porcelain.
Yeah, because I have some if you wanted to try it, but I think that would work really nice with that.
Thank you. Yeah. So I hate grog, so I like to I really like using smooth clay, but I think in this case, you know, I needed to use grog for the lid, obviously. And you know what? I've forgotten about that paper clay in the bottom of my shelf. I'm going to have to see how dry it is. But it doesn't really matter because I don't mind using dry clay for slab work. So, I mean, it has to not be too dry. But anyway, thank you. That's a really good idea, Ellen. I think I'll bust that bag out. Is that it?
Stacy,
Yes,
On
ma'am.
the piece that's glazed, you just lay down tape and then hand paint the
Oh,
colors?
yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do it a lot. I have mugs, like it's kind of my thing. And I really, it's actually very therapeutic. I struggle because each underglaze needs a different number of coats. And then actually each underglaze needs a different number of clear coats. So I find that the greens really suck up the clear. So you need to put an extra coat on that. But and the yellows too, and some of the blues, but you can't put too many coats on the red or the black. There's no black in this, but there's black in a lot of the ones I do. So you have to put less coats on that because otherwise it's bubble. So what I do is what the best way to do it, and I didn't do it for this one and it was a mistake, is I hand paint on the clear glaze on the ones that need the extra coat and then spray the rest.
Oh, so you can't spray the clear. Is that a special tape?
I've tried every tape on the planet, but no, probably not. But yeah, but I use I've come up with I use the Scotch artist tape, and that's nicer if you're making curves because it does a little bit better than the curves.
Okay.
And this plate I think is the frost porcelain, so it has a nice white line on it. But if I'm using B-Mix, before I biscuit, I underglaze it all in white with white underglaze, so I get a nice white line. And because the tape doesn't really work on greenware. You really need to biscuit first. And this one, I believe I bisque a lot of things twice, so that when I am applying the glaze to the underglaze, I don't get any smearing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Kathleen Martin, are you here? And we're approaching the end of our presentation here. So
I just escaped for a moment as soon as you called my name.
well, there we go. See, that's how it works. Okay, here we go, Kathleen.
Yep, this is a wall hanging porcelain, cone 10, Celadon glaze. And it's something I've done in the past, but I thought, oh, good, a triangle. And this one is Dave's Porcelain Cone 10 with a honey celadon glaze. And luckily it just had enough triangles in it to qualify. So there you have it. These are both obviously hand built.
That's a really nice glaze.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have fun.
Any questions for Kathleen?
Did she mention the clay body?
Porcelain.
Yes, the first one's porcelain, and the second one is stoneware Dave's Porcelain.
Okay. Yeah, that honey celadon is a gorgeous glaze.
It's for a celadon, it's really rich.
Is that a rolling pin you used for the texture?
Yes.
Very nice.
Any more questions comments for Kathleen? That one doesn't hang on the wall. That one is freestanding, right?
Yes, that's a cup. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, Lynn, here's part 2 of your presentation. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
All righty, here we go. Check that out. Just beautiful. Should put that on the online store, Lynn. And that one, because they're just so beautiful.
So you'll see that the yellow one is twisted and the green one is straight lines.
What's the glaze, Bet?
The yellow glaze is the Val Cushing's Iron Yellow, Cone 10 reduction.
Oh, okay.
And I'm working at getting them set up now that maybe Wynn's Kiln can fire those for me. And this one is Don Wright's green.
Oh, beautiful.
But you can see that the pieces have been first thrown and then sure formed or marked on the inside, pushed out to mark the lines for the carving, and then sure formed to take away the outside to emphasize the triangle.
They're really nice.
What's the clay body?
This is Miller's porcelain, code 10.
About how tall is the green one?
Say again?
About how tall is the green one?
That green one was probably about 14 inches.
I like matte surfaces. So these are really nice.
Yeah.
Any more questions for Lynn? We are coming upon it. Helen, are you here, Helen?
Hello?
Hello, hello. Here we go. I remember this little guy.
Yeah, so I still have it here. Even you can see this one. So it was made from Soldate 60. It's clay, and I prepare a paper template before. I have some small, you can see maybe like my measurement. So probably it was 20 triangles. And at first I added one side, like 5 pentagon. It's slabs. I create one side, then another, and the third one, and I connected them, added another pieces, and then one additional triangle for top and for bottom. So I did. It's even designed like triangles, and also I made the key here. Maybe you can see, I don't know, like on a spot and on the lid, there is small triangles.
Oh.
To find which
I
way
see.
is better to put the lid. Yeah. And it's content. It was done in this fall and fired in college, Ventura College. I struggled a lot with this handle. You can see it's carved a lot. It's solid, and it was too heavy, so I had to carve a lot. So here is also a lot of different triangles, and it became much better after carving.
That's a great piece. I love it. I hope to see it up at the Beatrice Wood Show.
It's a beautiful piece.
It is.
Thank
It's a lot of
you.
work.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions for Elena?
Yeah, Helena. Helena, Elena, it's okay. Both names are about me.
Yep. Marion Tom. I know you're here. I saw you a minute ago.
Yes, I'm here.
Here we go. All right, so look at this little beauty here.
And these are small. Both of these little dishes are, 4 inches across. It's just porcelain with a black slip. So I didn't make them especially for this challenge. I have a big platter. I do triangles a lot. I love them, but somehow this big platter is daunting. It just is too big, and I don't know quite what to do with it. So I didn't finish it, so I'm just showing you these.
I'm very encouraged to hear everybody else struggling as much as me.
Yeah. And I use triangles a lot. There's a stamp I have, it's an MKM stamp that's a triangle. And I use it like on these mugs, that's just a triangle stamp. You can see near the rim on the top, that's the stamp. And then I turn it to make the square and make a pattern.
Mhm.
Oh. And they're cone 10.
Okay, wondered if you. Does anyone have any questions for Marion?
I have two questions. It's Ellen. My first question is with the MKM stamps, do you throw it and then stamp it after it's thrown?
Yes, not right after it's thrown. I usually trim and handle it first. And so once I've done that, then I do the stamps.
And then you hold the back.
Go ahead. I'm trying to think. Sometimes I think I put the stamps on first and then I put the handle on.
And then so you hold the back of the mug while you're stamping it.
Yeah, I put my hand inside. And when I do something that has as many stamps, like a lot of the mugs that I do a pattern with, on the inside, you can see there's a rhythm of distortion. It's just sort of interesting. It doesn't stay completely flat.
Do you use any kind of spray or lubrication on your stamp?
No, it's just a matter of having it just at that right somewhere. It's not quite leather hard, but it's not at all wet. The form will hold the form. Yeah, and I have found that certain, like I've got some bigger stamps and some smaller stamps, and the bigger stamps are harder on because to fit a round form, it distorts it more and it doesn't work quite as well for me, but yeah.
I have another question for you on your other piece, the plate.
Yeah.
So do you just paint on the black slip? Is that what you do?
Yes, but I do it when the piece is green and it's a little forgiving. I'll often sort of carve away where my painting hasn't been that good. And some of the pieces, I think I should have applied the slip a little bit thicker because you can sort of see the brush strokes on it. I've done them where I coat a whole area and then carve away. But that's, harder. So usually I'll just like draw it in pencil and try to see like this one that's upside down, you can see a place where I sort of slipped on painting it on and I carved it away, but I didn't quite get it all.
I feel your pain. Yes, I know. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? All righty. And last but not least, we have Patty Hallows. Are you here? Oh, but Patty said she didn't have a microphone, I don't think. So here, this is a lovely piece. So here is Patty's piece. Isn't that nice? It has Beatrice Wood written all over it. Do people have comments? Because I don't think Patty can talk. Isn't that nice? That's really nice. I like it a lot.
Gorgeous. It is a nice piece, and yes, it is a Beatrice Wood piece.
Lovely piece.
All right, so that does it for me, for us, for all of us collectively. I cannot tell you how thrilled I was to get all these in CDs and put it together, and I just really enjoyed it. So thank you very much, everybody, for sharing.
Well, thank you.
Stacy, you did a wonderful job of putting that presentation together and commentating it and keeping it. You're just incredible.
Well, I really just I was just dragging pictures back and forth.
I said, Harry, well, I
Everything
think
was so
you should do this
beautiful.
again.
really, and everything.
Yeah, I
looks
think
so
you should do this
professional.
again, like maybe quarterly or something.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the original plan. And at the time, we didn't have a program director. And so we were scrambling to find ways to fill up a program. So now we actually have a program director. So this did take the whole meeting. So we have to talk to her and see how she feels about doing this again as a program. But I think we had a lot of participation, and I think people really liked it, right? Did you guys like it? Was
Right.
it fun?
Yeah. I thought it was great.
Yes.
I was
You
really
want to do it again?
Absolutely,
Yeah, do it again.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
gorgeous.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
It was
So-
very educational.
So you
Okay.
guys should email your suggestions for the next theme.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Give us some suggestions, and yeah.
Email them to Terry or to me, and then Terry and I'll suss it up, and we'll coordinate with Barbara and figure out when. But we know we need to give you guys plenty of time.
Yeah.